How's everybody doing? Hi.
Good.
Good.
Nice to see you
Hi.
again, Charles. Charles is my old friend from university. So,
Oh, right
Yes.
on.
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's really exciting for me to be able to talk to you about your film, really,
Oh, thank you.
like this. And actually, I think that's where I wanted to start it off because, you had a very amazing screening at TIFF and a number of screenings at TIFF. I was at one of them, actually at the Lightbox. And one of the things I was reading about is how all of you hadn't really had a chance to experience the film until then, until you've had a chance to do it there, recently at Santa Barbara, Japan, Denmark, or Norway, one of the two.
Oh, Norway and Taiwan. But
Norway and
yeah.
Taiwan. Um, what really fascinates me about your film is how well it plays with an audience. So I was wondering how that experience for all of you has transformed the movie, watching it with an audience, seeing what hits and what hits differently.
That's such a great question. Yeah, because we shot it during the third wave of the pandemic, and I had to edit it over Zoom and really fight hard, even just to have a test screening with like four of my friends. So like literally nobody, I hadn't watched the movie with more than like four people. And, I think because of sort of the ever changing fluid nature of COVID, like we weren't even sure if we were going to ever get to watch the movie with a full audience. And now I've been like traveling all over Canada and really all over the world showing the movie to like packed houses. And it's insanely gratifying and surprising to me every time how many people connect with it, because it really is just this weird movie about me as a teenager. So yeah, I mean, I love, and also for Isaiah and Romina, they hadn't ever seen it until the premiere. So that's an intensely vulnerable experience as an actor.
Yeah. I'm going to ask Isaiah, Romina, what does it mean to you? I mean, there's a number of scenes that are so heightened and charged. I can certainly feel that as an audience member. What's it like? Well, what's it like to do those scenes and then experience them the way that you did, watching it with an audience, with a really informed and sort of interested crowd?
It was incredibly surreal for me. I mean, even just witnessing it during ADR, which is when you do like voice recordings in a small studio booth and you see like clips of the film the first time you're seeing anything at all, and then seeing it with this audience that had such a heightened event. I did manage to actually watch the film and be present, but it wasn't until the third screening that I really was able to see it and watch it like an audience member. And I loved it. By the third screening, I loved it. But the first two, I was more in tune with the audience's reaction, what they were laughing at, and moments in the theater that would just go from laughter to like, you could hear a pin drop. Like no one was munching popcorn. Everyone was just in shock of what was up there. And then in the next moment, like Chandler would cut through with a joke and it was all good again. It was this like real roller coaster ride. And it's so moving because you put your whole heart and soul into this character, into this work, whatever your job is on the film, and then have people receive it and come to you after and share that with you, that they've experienced something like that, or they were so deeply touched by that. It's like, it's so moving.
Mm-hmm. Actually, Romina, I want to build on your point there because there are a number of scenes that are really, again, heightened for me because, I'm thinking particularly of the monologue that you deliver sort of close to the end of the film, which again is sort of deepened by the reaction. What were some of the scenes or moments that sort of stood out for you as really sort of hitting or, just getting to the point where, as you said, as an audience member, you were really able to feel it?
Well, thank you. I'm so glad that moment resonated for you. It meant a lot to me to be able to share part of that kind of story with audiences in a bigger story that had nothing to do with that. That really meant a lot to me. So I appreciate that. And I remember moments from, honestly, all of the different characters that were just so real and poignant. Even a moment between Isaiah and his mother, there's a lot of layers of trauma through the characters' lives. So not to give anything away, but I think everyone has a moment or two or three of like really awkward truth, the kind of truth that is so real. You're just like, I don't think I should be witnessing this. That's bad. It shocked me. And then I was in the film. So I was grateful just to be part of the very talented actors who were revealing these truths. And you have to find it from a real place. It's not like putting on a mask, you have to put on flesh. Like it's got to be real, and you have to experience it firsthand.
Mm-hmm. Isaiah, what do you feel? How, Lawrence goes on quite the journey throughout the film and is really sort of, larger than life and bombastic. And it's an incredible contrast to sort of see you there at the premiere and see you now as well. And just how you've transformed yourself a little bit and how you've transformed into the character. What were some of those moments for you where filming it or watching it felt really heightened?
I honestly, as you had previously mentioned, like Romina's big monologue towards the end of the film, it just felt electric, like filming that. I felt so dialed in. I felt so tuned in. Like I was watching her so closely that I feel like the world kind of closed in around me. And it was just like that. And also a moment with Alana and Lawrence in the parking lot after his hard day at work. That was at like the end of a 12-hour day, and we had like 15 minutes to shoot that. And we did like one or two takes, and I don't know, I just felt really dialed in. It felt very heightened, like very surreal, like very much like in the moment, like living in the real. And we were able to get like some really like textured, like really emotive stuff in that like 10 minutes because it just felt so heightened and like so electric.
That was amazing. It was like 5 a.m. in a freezing cold parking lot in Ajax, and Isaiah's like crying a single tear.
Yeah. You don't have any defenses at that point, right? Too, as an actor like Isaiah, at the end of all those hours, you're just like,
tired.
I have no judgment. I can't do anything but be real right now. That's it.
Yeah.
Chandler, I'm curious about the format of the film, because you choose right at the beginning to start off with a film, a movie within a movie. We haven't even sort of settled in yet. So it feels like it's kind of layers upon layers. And I had read too about how you wanted to make the first movie that was being created not necessarily a good one. That by the end, certainly there is the progression of, Lawrence as a filmmaker as well. So I was wondering what the decision was like for you to do that and to make, I don't know, maybe in your opinion, like a good, bad film at the beginning.
Yeah, well, I think that was like really an homage. In high school, I wanted to make a movie called Rejects Night, and we started filming it. And me and my best friend at the time, I remember we shot in Zellers, and she was getting all these like nibs out of the shelves and stuff. And we started filming it, but then sadly the movie fell through because my friend Heather Murray's mom wouldn't let us use her living room as a shooting location. So that was tragic. So I felt like I wanted to kind of like go back and make the movie I didn't shoot in high school. And also sort of pay homage to the way that I learned how to be a filmmaker in high school, which was all through like excessive iMovie editing effects and kind of like this more is more idea of like the more like fake explosions and gunshots and editing transitions you add, like the better you are as a filmmaker. And I love the idea of this kind of fake out where like people go to a screening of the movie at TIFF and they sit down and then they have to watch like 3 minutes of this movie and they're like, what am I getting myself into before the real movie begins? And then I think there's kind of this book ending, right? Because he start with a super indulgent film. He's not even giving credit to Matt McCarthy. He just gives him an additional dialogue by thing. And then it ends with this kind of profound experience of him watching the year-end video and getting really sucked in because he's kind of experiencing this version of a high school, that experience he could have had if he'd sort of actually paid attention to the other students in the school. And so I really wanted there to kind of be this like sort of lessons there of like, he thinks he's an amazing filmmaker, but he's actually just in love with the idea of being a filmmaker. And then Lauren P, you see that there's this kind of real talent there because she's actually spending time with like other students and actually getting to know them and putting them on screen. And so, yeah, but I guess that's kind of was my intention there.
I just want to ask lastly that I know that you've all talked about the importance of the video store and of movies themselves. What is it like when you're in a movie like this that's so maybe self-referential or like an ode to movies, a love letter to movies? Do you have a new appreciation for movies?
I mean, I guess speaking as like a film critic, I think that it certainly, I really hope that I get to continue reviewing movies, even though maybe it's a crazy conflict of interest if I keep generating my own content. But I think it's given me a lot more empathy because I now know how hard it is to make any film, let alone like a great film. And any movie that gets made is like an actual miracle that has to be celebrated because they're so vulnerable to falling apart. And they really are the product of like so many people's concentrated efforts and dedication and blood and sweat and tears and, you know, hours of commitment. So I think it's made me like really understand like the emotional struggle of it and the joy that needs to be celebrated and the celebration of it, because any film that comes out like literally is the product of so many people's hard work and dedication over years of kind of commitment to telling a story.
Mm-hmm. I just want to say how much I enjoyed the experience of it. You know, Chandler, I had watched your short film and enjoyed that so much, but what you presented to us in this film, I thought was so moving and transcendent and really demanded a rewatch and a deep dive too into it. You know, that you've done so on the micro budget, I think is really incredible. The themes, and you've talked about how you want your career to continue for a long time. And I hope that this is sort of the start of an amazing long career for you of presenting movies.
Well, thanks. It's very sweet. I feel like, it's only as good as the people that you get to work with. So I like, my producers, Evan Dubinsky and Lindsay Goldner, like their commitment to it and the generous, like really beautiful performances that Isaiah and Romina gave, and all the team collaborators like my DP Rico and the composer Murray and my editor Simone Smith, who like really like spent like, we spent like 8-9 months kind of working together on the edit. Like I just owe a lot of people, my parents that drove me around. This is like an acceptance speech for an award that I didn't get, but I'm very grateful to everyone that worked on this with me.
Simone with the CSA. Simone with the CSA. She's really got it locked.
You should have got more nominations for the CSAs this week.
No comment. I have no comments.
I'd like to have seen a lot more, but just from me in particular, I wanted to share how much the film had meant to me. Even
thank you so much. I really appreciate it, Charles.
Thank you, Charles.
And the performances too. Thank you so much.